I've done a lot of shady shit in my life in pursuit of getting laid, but one thing that I've never done is be friends with convicted pedophile, rapist, and sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein or his girlfriend Jiz Lane Maxwell, which is more than I can say for Donald Trump. What's up, fam of liberty? And also everyone else who's watching this video who isn't yet following our channel for some unknown, unfathomable, mystifying, stupefying reason is your boy Big SARS, sometimes also known as Admin Tim. I am a professional Scotsman and the founder of the Sons of Liberty social media organization that's been steadily enraging MAGA fuckface ass clowns since 2015. Just so we're clear right off the bat, fuck Donald Trump, fuck MAGA traitors, fuck GOP politicians, fuck these 7 limp dick establishment Democrats and independent politicians that sold out the American public, and finally, fuck billionaires. Useless fucking leeches I like to call wealth hoarders that have their boots on the neck of just about every American citizen. Neither this channel nor its comment sections anywhere else on like 15 different social media platforms are a safe space for you bootlicking simps for, oh, let's see, where do I even fucking begin with this one? A wannabe authoritarian tyrant, a pedophile, a wannabe king, a Russian asset, a 34-time convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist, a Wish.com fascist oligarch, a failed insurrectionist, a failed businessman who has multiple bankruptcies and failed business ventures. You notice all those fails in there? Fail this, fail that, failure this, failure that. A guy who said he made a deal with his 17-year-old daughter that he would never date anyone younger than her. A guy who let another man call his daughter a hot piece of ass and said that if she weren't his daughter, then perhaps he would be dating her, and she was 16 at the time. A self-confessed lover of very young girls, an admitted sexual predator, a guy who is best friends for over a decade with a convicted pedophile. Plot twist, that was all in reference to the same person, Donald Trump. Now that you know where I stand on things, if you're still here and you're not frantically rage typing into my comments box like a triggered conservative snowflake who's ass mad about House Democrats releasing 3 emails from Epstein's estate, but you didn't have fuck all to say about the House Republicans releasing 23,000 of them, except, well, why didn't Joe Biden release them? Then maybe consider following this channel after you watch this video and deciding whether or not you like the cut of my jib. And if you don't, I don't even give a fuck. Yesterday was an historic day. Yesterday morning, after I'd already shot and edited my rant video, House Democrats released 3 emails from the Epstein estate, not to be confused with the Epstein files. Shortly after that, realizing that they were in deep shit, House Republicans tried to deflect from the scenario, saying it's not that bad. It really was. And I don't understand why they would say it's not that bad and then release the shit that they gave us, which is arguably even fucking worse. But whatever, nobody ever accused fucking GOP politicians of having 2 brain cells to rub together. But I digress. House Republicans released over 23,000 documents from the Epstein estate. I'm thinking they released all of this hoping to obfuscate and slow down investigators, burying them in paperwork. What's for sure, though, is that regardless of their motive, countless journalists and investigators, both professional and otherwise, are now combing through this new wealth of evidence. So over the coming weeks, we're going to see a lot of things, some of them contradictory. Like I said, these emails and documents are from the Epstein estate. These are different from the hundreds of thousands of pages and files from the Epstein files. I'm telling you this because yesterday afternoon, Arizona Representative Adelita Grijalva was finally sworn in as a House representative, making her the first Latina to represent Arizona in Congress. At her swearing in, she brought 2 of Epstein's trafficking victims and boldly declared that she would sign the discharge petition to now have the House vote on releasing the Epstein files, which I've noted twice now are separate from the Epstein estate documents. I've mentioned this now 3 times specifically because I want you to be aware of the difference, because there's no guarantee that the House vote will pass. Donald Trump ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi and her Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Kash Patel, himself famously once an Epstein truther who suddenly changed the tune and realized that his paycheck and ability to abuse and misuse FBI assets and money goes away if the truth comes out. These people met with MAGA Representative Lauren Boebert to try and convince her to vote against releasing the files. Reportedly, they've also met with Representatives Margarine Trader Greed and Nancy Mace, herself no stranger to crimes against women. Mace has accused 4 men, including her ex-fiancé, of rape, sex trafficking, and recording sex acts with her and others without consent. But here's the thing, fam. A growing number of Republicans are waking up to the fact that Donald Trump is doing his hardest to divert attention from the Epstein files, and even unprincipled people have their own line in the sand. Quite often, that line involves molesting and raping children. Senior Republicans believe as many as 100 House Republicans will support the bill when it comes to the floor for a vote. Many of them are facing constituents who voted for Trump in the belief that he would release the Epstein files, and because he promised. And they're also angry that the administration appears to be covering them up in the service of rich elites. Others likely recognize that they don't want to be seen as participating in that cover-up, especially with the threat of even worse material waiting to drop. So the discharge petition has passed, and now the House has to vote on releasing the Epstein files. If the House votes against it, invariably watch for excuses like, well, we have to protect victims and we can't release their names and identities and addresses, or, well, we just released the files. Remember that thing that I've been saying? Hoping that you're dumb enough to not know the difference in the Epstein estate files and the Epstein files that the Department of Justice has. That's now the 4th time that I've mentioned the difference. I'm also mentioning it because the Epstein files are being held by the Department of Justice. They haven't released any of these emails that mention Donald Trump's name and identify his role in all these activities. The emails that we're seeing now are from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. This is a demonstration that the government is very deliberately withholding the information that everyone on both sides of the political spectrum are actually looking for, and that the DOJ is withholding anything that could be damaging to Donald Trump. Presuming that this House bill passes, then it has to go before the Republican-controlled Senate. And considering that 7 Democrats and 1 independent senator just broke ranks to vote with Republicans to end the shutdown, and considering 6 senators just got it passed into law that they could sue the government for searching their phones about their role in the January 6th insurrection, one of whom is closeted Lindsey Graham, who's so thoroughly compromised that he would literally stick his whole tongue in Trump's dirty, unwashed cinnamon ring if it were demanded of him. Considering how corrupt the Senate is, I'm not holding out any hope whatsoever that this bill passes the Senate. But let's say by some extraordinary miracle that it does. Let's say that they signed it into law. It still has to go before Donald Trump to be signed. Donald Trump could veto it, effectively killing it. Because even though a veto can be overridden, in order to do so, each chamber of Congress must independently achieve a 2/3 majority vote among the members present and voting to pass the bill into law over the president's objections. You want to get 2/3 of the House and the Senate to agree on a thing? So here's a recap of some of the things that we've learned in the past 24 hours alone. And bear in mind that this list is probably growing exponentially even as I record this and then edit it later throughout the day. Y'all remember when Trump was just an obnoxious blowhard running his mouth about Obama's birth certificate? Y'all remember the birthers, right? Y'all remember when Obama then roasted the fuck out of Donald Trump at the April 30th, 2011 White House Correspondents' Dinner and made Trump so mad that he started running for president? Well, just under a month before that, before his political ambitions began, Jeffrey Epstein wrote an email to his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. This email is dated April 2nd, 2011. The email referred to a story in which the fictional detective Sherlock Holmes solved a case by noting that a dog didn't bark at a crime scene because it knew the perpetrator. The dog that didn't bark. The reference has come to mean that an expected action or piece of evidence whose absence proves guilt. Then Epstein wrote, I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. He references a redacted victim's name and says, victim spent hours at my house with him. The him in that sentence is Donald Trump. When you see idiot MAGA fuckface ass clowns talking about this and trying to spin it, you can safely remind them that we all know MAGA doesn't read books, and they certainly don't understand Sir Arthur Conan Doyle or Sherlock Holmes. The context there is clear. MAGA is just fucking stupid and lacks basic reading comprehension skills. Hashtag not sorry, not sorry. Also in 2011, Epstein emails Maxwell and says that a young girl or woman, it's not clear which, said that she didn't want to come over early to Epstein's place and find Donald Trump in Epstein's house. Epstein says that Trump is a very, very bad person and he hasn't met anyone who's as bad as Trump. If that's the assessment of a convicted pedophile, sex trafficker, and rapist, then how bad does someone truly have to be? December 2015, after Trump had declared his candidacy for the 2016 presidential election, Michael Wolff told Epstein that CNN would ask Trump about his relationship with Epstein. Epstein asked what Wolff thought Trump should answer. Wolff wrote, "I think you should let him hang himself. If he says that he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, you can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt." This exchange suggested Epstein would have leverage over Trump if Trump tried to say that he had not been at Epstein's house or on his plane. In other words, that Trump was there and Epstein had the receipts. So these two guys, both of whom were once friends of Trump, are discussing Trump being on Epstein's plane and at his house. We have Epstein's flight logs that confirm Trump was on the Lolita Express at least 9 times. We also have emails from Ghislaine Maxwell confirming that she saw Trump at Epstein's house, which contradicts the statement that she gave to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, statements that she made in order to get a cushy lodging at Club Fed's minimum security prison. It's speculated that Maxwell is going to ask for her sentence to be commuted, and it's speculated that Trump is going to pardon her because she changed her tune. These emails prove that she perjured herself, so the smart play is to put a stop to her request and send her back to maximum security. In 2015, Epstein offered a New York Times reporter named Landon Thomas Jr. an unspecified link that said, "My 20-year-old girlfriend in 93, referencing the year 1993, and we followed that up with, "After 2 years, I gave her to Donald." This matches up with the joke in Epstein's infamous birthday book about Trump purchasing a depreciated woman from Epstein. Could her name have been Melania? He also gave Thomas pictures of Donald and girls in bikinis in Epstein's kitchen and offered to tell more. This offer matches similar offers made by Epstein. In January 2019, Jeffrey Epstein emails Trump's biographer, Michael Wolff. Now, it's worth noting that Michael Wolff claims he's seen FBI photos, in other words, evidence from the Epstein files. Wolff claims that the FBI showed him photos of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together with naked girls who've been identified as underage sex trafficking victims. Wolff also says that he saw similar photos from Epstein himself, photos of Trump posing with topless young women of an indeterminate age who were sitting on Trump's lap at Epstein's estate in Palm Beach. Michael Wolff was pursuing a story and writing a book, which I have issues with everyone in Trump's orbit writing tell-all books instead of putting a stop to whatever crimes he's committing, but whatever. Anyway, he's cozied up with Epstein and is trying to play each man against each other. In this email between Epstein and Wolff on January 31st, 2019, Epstein explicitly stated that Trump knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. But that's not what Trump, who was a friend of Epstein's from the 1980s into the 2000s, has said. Trump has repeatedly said that he did not know anything about Epstein's crimes. Something else that Trump said, he said that he barely knew Epstein, but that contradicts his claim that he was good friends with Epstein and that Epstein liked really young girls. Epstein's version of events is that Donald Trump doesn't have any friends, only people that he uses. Trump has also claimed he hasn't spoken to Epstein in years, and for years, Trump also claimed that he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago decades ago. But we have an email dated November 23rd, 2017 that says Epstein was spending Thanksgiving weekend with Donald Trump and some others. So in November 2017, after Trump was president, shortly before Epstein was arrested for the final time, Epstein hung out with Donald Trump over the Thanksgiving weekend. At that time, Trump was at Mar-a-Lago, his private Florida club, and the same place where Epstein's trafficking ring first recruited underage girls like Virginia Giuffre. And if you look at news reports from 2017 that haven't been edited, it's clear that Trump held a ritzy event in a members-only club in Palm Beach. Who else lives in Palm Beach? Epstein also says that he knows how dirty Trump is. We know for a fact that Donald Trump spent a lot of time partying with Epstein. Epstein confirmed a lot of details that came from other women who were seduced by Trump, claiming that he took advantage of them by preying on their insecurities about their own husbands who were potentially going to be unfaithful. I sense exploitation coming. One of Trump's signature moves that he enjoys more than anything else was getting a so-called friend to cheat on their wives with one of Trump's bevy of girls. Trump would then call the wife and tell them about the affair and suggest that they could get revenge by having sex with him. Wolff also says that Jeffrey Epstein was terrified of Donald Trump becoming president because he was a maniac, because of how much Epstein knew about Trump. Epstein was afraid what would happen to him if Donald Trump became president. Epstein was arrested during the Trump administration on July 6, 2019. He was later found dead in his Manhattan jail cell in August 2019 whilst awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges. The surveillance video shows at least 1 minute of footage is missing. But here's the more important question. If this was a hoax, why was Ghislaine Maxwell convicted for admitting to it? Why would Epstein kill himself over a hoax? You want to know how I know that Donald Trump is lying about the hoax? Because on virtually every issue pertaining to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, Donald Trump can't keep his story straight. He'll either confirm or contradict a story, contradicting or confirming what he'd previously said. The guy is so full of shit, he can't even keep his own story straight. So if Donald Trump is talking about a hoax, it's almost a guarantee that it's real. What's the first thing that anyone does whenever anyone else says, this is a hoax, this is fake, this isn't real? You fucking stand up and you present your proof. If only they say, see motherfuckers, it's real. So if it was a hoax, you'd be exonerated by releasing the files. Right, Donald? Go ahead. Clear your name. Oh, that's right. You can't because you're a pedophile and a child rapist. It's weird how all these QAnon motherfuckers and MAGA cultists spent the past 5 years hunting pedophiles and accusing Democrats of having a child sex trafficking ring and putting bumper stickers on their cars proclaiming vigilante justice ought to be the norm where it pertains to killing pedophiles. But not only have they voted for a pedophile, they continue to protect a pedophile. If this was a hoax, Donald dumbass, why are there almost 500,000 pieces of physical evidence, whether it's phone call records, call logs, flight logs, black books, client list documents, photos, and videos? If it's a hoax, why did the FBI have 1,000 people working 24-hour shifts back to back for weeks on end? If it's a hoax, why were they required to sift through files looking for your name, which they then recorded on an unclassified SharePoint document that anyone could access if they had the link? If this was a hoax, then why are you crying about it at every opportunity? If this was a hoax, why are you so afraid of it being released? If this was a hoax, why did Attorney General Pam Bondi tell you that your name appears many thousands of times in the Epstein files? If this was a hoax, why are you trying to coerce vulnerable Republicans to back down from supporting the release of the Epstein files? The only hoax is you, Donald Trump. You're a convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist, a failed insurrectionist, a Russian asset, an admitted sexual predator, and a man who likes very young girls. You want to know how I know you're a pedophile, Donald Trump? Want to know how I know that you're a sick freak? Because what kind of sick, twisted fuck says, in front of the whole ass world, I made a deal with my daughter when she was 17 that I would never date a girl younger than her? What kind of sick, twisted fuck says in front of the whole world about his 16-year-old daughter, if she weren't my daughter, I'd probably be dating her? That's how we know you're a pedophile, Donald, because you've all but directly admitted it. So when two convicted pedophiles talk about you being in their company, it's not a hoax. The only hoax is your innocence, you sick fuck. The whole ass world knows that Trump is in the Epstein files. This massive release by Republicans and Democrats together is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump. If you're a MAGA cultist fuckface ass clown and you're still defending this shit, then you're a fucking bootlicking simp for a pedophile and a rapist. And every woman and child in your life should stay the fuck away from you because you are a diseased piece of shit too. Signed, a survivor of child rape. That's my time for today. Big Sarge out here. 2 claps and a Rick. 1 team, 1 fight. Fuck pedophiles. Fuck Trump. Woo!
And now it's time for the throw punch!